You are Locked On Bulldogs, your daily podcast on the Georgia Bulldogs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Locked On Bulldogs podcast. I am Daniel.
I am Clint. We're back with the three windows. Everybody, this is Josh. Josh is writing these days for @Dawgs Stats as well as Dawgs Sports. Josh, welcome to the show, man. Glad you are here with us.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. Yeah, you guys are a fun crew to listen to, and it's an absolute pleasure to jump on with you guys.
That's exactly right. We bring the fun. Josh is going to bring the stats, y'all. Daniel and I are going to try
the intellect.
That's right. We know our lanes. We're going to stay in our lanes. We're going to be the fans.
That's correct.
Josh is also a fan, but he's going to bring that intellect is going to rise up. Amuse bouge might come back. Charcuterie board. Watch out for the definitions. The vocab is just going to ascend from here on out. Daniel and I don't take each other too seriously, nor ourselves, but we take seriously our fandom in UGA. That's what we take so seriously. And the hate week of Georgia Tech is off to a great start. Today, we're going to ask Josh about a couple of key metrics statistically. We're going to ask him what makes Georgia Tech essentially guaranteed to give up 38 points. And then we're going to talk about Bama and how this team for Alabama this year is not the teams of lore. And we're going to do that as fans do, Daniel.
That's right. For fans, by fans. That's what the podcast is all about. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Go subscribe to that YouTube. Look, that's it. That's the only push. We're getting there. 1,000 subscribers by the SEC championship game. New goal is 1,000 subscribers by the Georgia Tech game. Let's just get it done by this weekend. So jump on to the YouTube. If you're watching there right now, just click that subscribe button. Josh, as Clint mentioned, @dog_stats on Twitter. You probably already follow him, but if you don't, you should be, because it's insightful. It is insightful what he's bringing to the table. So let's begin and let's jump in to this Georgia team. Let's just talk about who we are. And I know, Josh, you wanted to let's talk about some of the key stats for you. If somebody's a novice fan, who many people listening to this podcast are Georgia football fans, they watch a lot of Georgia football. But maybe they didn't play football growing up, or maybe they've never been a football coach. Maybe they never really dived into the numbers necessarily. And so they know about touchdowns, and they know about yards gained, and they know about first downs and things like that. What are some of the more advanced stats that you think are particularly helpful to look at when evaluating a team?
Well, thank you guys again for that promo and push for my stuff. But yeah, I got into it, honestly, I had a fix, and it was kind of like I got burned out on fantasy football, and fantasy football is all sort of finding numbers and stuff. And I stumbled into sort of looking at the, advanced metrics or analytics of football and stuff. So I really didn't know anything about it. So I just kept chipping away and trying to understand it. And I just started a little blog, and I kind of feel like I'm less of a, I just report the numbers, honestly, and just try to explain them. But there are basically three parts to sort of the football analytics or football metrics. And you've got your success rate, and you've got something called EPA, which really stands for expected points added, but it's just a number for a play. And then and then also explosiveness, which is like Clark. You guys had Clark from SESI StatCat, and he describes explosiveness differently. Than he looks at a percentage of plays that gain a certain number of yards. Explosiveness is done a little different on the analytics side. It's basically you take your successful plays and you average your expected points added. So anyway, back up. Success rate, you really want to think of it as just sort of like your offense on schedule, right? Behind, you don't want to be behind the sticks. So it's just basically a percentage of plays which gain 50% of the yards to gain on first down, 70% of the yards to gain on second down, and 100% of the yards to gain on third and fourth down. And then that's it. So it's basically just think of it as on schedule. So obviously you want your offense to have a high percentage of plays that are on schedule or successful. Georgia right now for the season is right about 50% of offensive plays are successful, which is really, really good. Ohio State's over that. Alabama is honestly we're neck and neck with Alabama offensively. And then conversely, defense, you want a low successful percentage of successful plays. And Georgia and Wisconsin are the two best teams, averaging just over allowing 30% of opposing offenses successful plays. So that's ridiculous good. I mean,
these are key stats to understand that one of the best offenses, the best offense in all college football, Ohio State, just prolific, kind of eye-popping explosiveness. They are ahead of us, but we're on pace. We're in the realm of that. And then if you were to go to the defensive side on these numbers, I did not hear you mention Ohio State or Alabama. We'll get to that in a second. But you're telling me that we're in the upper echelon of the elite level on both of those. Again, this is what I've been trying to tell you. A 4-yard gain is not the same on first down as it is on third down, and these numbers back it up. And so, maybe, you should do? Reach out to CBS, see if Gary wants to do a sit-down with you on
maybe do an internship. He could use somebody. He could
really could.
And that's the best one. And I don't use that phrase enough, but it's like, all yards aren't created equal, and that's the exact way that analytics tries to break it down. Obviously, the example I use is like an 11-yard rush on 3rd and 17. Let's just say a halfback draw on 3rd and 17 that we used to see quite often.
Let's don't say that. Let's don't say it, Josh. Don't.
That may contribute to your yards per carry average, but it's not a successful play, and usually leads to a punt. So but like a 4-yard gain on 3rd and 3, especially when you're on your at the 40-yard line of your opponent, that play is quite valuable. In fact, one of the most valuable plays that sticks out to me in 2019 was the completion to Nada to ice the game in the cocktail party in 2019. That was a 3rd down conversion right at the 40-yard line. It was like the 4th most sort of valuable play that season. Again, it moves the chains. It gets you into scoring position, and that's how it's just weighted that way. So
absolutely,
you'll see EPA a lot. It's just a weighted. But success rate or successful play is binary, yes, no. EPA is weighted to how valuable that successful play is.
So how is that calculated? The EPA, which I was under the impression was the Environmental Protection Agency, I'm incorrect. I've been incorrect
also
all these years.
Not the cancer producing chemicals that you should be free of. None of those either. Okay,
no, not that.
Basically, what these guys have done is they've charted a zillion plays. That's an official term. That's an official number.
Mm-hmm.
Where basically they've taken every.
I mean, you're a stats guy. You know the numbers, so it's a zillion.
So every play every down, every distance from every yard line of the play has an expected points added. Obviously, the closer you're to the end zone, the more those points, the more expected points you're getting, and the further away from the end zone, the less they are. So you basically take that and then you take the next play and you subtract it. So it just tells you how valuable it is. So like if you meet that expectation, then you're going to get like a 0 EPA for that play. If you have a 40-yard bomb that takes you from your own 25 to the 50, that's going to be a much higher EPA play. So it's just weighted on down and distance and field position is all it is. So it's just basically a numerical grade.
We're going to get down into the nitty-gritty of why Georgia is successful against Georgia Tech, or we hope they're successful against Georgia Tech, kind of numbers.
I mean, they're going to be successful against Georgia Tech.
I mean, I understand. That's why I started it with that. And then we're going to look ahead a little bit to the SEC championship game in 2 weeks and talk about Alabama. But first, I want to let you know about PrizePicks. PrizePicks is daily fantasy made easy. You said you got burned out in fantasy. I did as well with it. But what if I was to tell you, Josh, that PrizePicks makes fantasy easier? Why? Here's why. You get to go ahead against the numbers that are projected, and you are playing them. You're not playing anything else. You're not playing lineup changes. You're not playing waiver, anything like that. It's you against the numbers. And right now, PrizePicks.com has the most numbers and the most props that you can make of any site for daily fantasy, and including college as well as mixed sports. So how many more times LeBron is going to throw an elbow at somebody's nose? I don't know. Go find out that prop. How many times over 1. How many times Geoff is going to try to snatch pull 225 pounds pregame? I don't know. He's going to try. He's going to try more than twice. Fail more than that.
Lift, clean, and jerk, Clint. That's a lift, clean, and jerk. That's what he's going to do. That's the official term.
It is the official term. PrizePicks.com, your daily fantasy made easy. Head over there right now, put in the promo code Locked On, and you're going to get a match on anything that you put in up to $100. PrizePicks.com, promo code Locked On. They're going to match up to $100 right into it. PrizePicks, daily fantasy made easy.
All right, let's dive into this week's opponent to Georgia Tech. Let's talk about this Georgia team in particular. What have you seen from Tech specifically, Josh, when you look at them from a statistics perspective? Why have they not won any games? That's the question that I'm asking you.
Well, it is about, you can talk about, watch the game nerd is what I get, when you start talking about this stuff, and you can just look at the box score and see that Georgia Tech has stunk of late. I would expect and hope that Georgia can, basically hold them out of the end zone, and they will have scored their last point in November 13th.
You would love to see it. You'd love to see it.
They started, the beginning of the year, they had the terrible loss to Northern Illinois. It was kind of a mess there. They were playing defensively. They were playing okay. But it has fallen off a cliff. Their offensive success rate is all the way down to 40% if you track it. Started out at 47 and dropped to sorry, I'm going to turn down my air so it doesn't blow out. If you hear that, it's basically their offensive success rate's down 40%. So that's just not good. I mentioned a few minutes ago, Georgia's at 49 and almost 50% success rate. So yeah, they're offensively, they've kind of fallen off a cliff, and the defensive success rates following suit. They're at 46% allowed. So that's just a recipe for an elite team to just have their way with them.
You mentioned a stat to us pre-production. You said per play, you have been able to tabulate, if you will. The numbers came in. You're able to put a successful play to a point total. So if you give up a successful play or an explosive play, that relates to a point total that Georgia Tech has given up. And they're giving up 30 explosive plays or successful plays a game. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah, I was just going to ask. Give us some understanding of that. It sounds awful.
How many points is that?
Yes, give us how many points that translates to typically.
Let me see. Let me get my spreadsheet up here that I just had. I lost it here. So they're allowing 30 successful plays a game, roughly. And Georgia is on the flip side of that, Georgia is allowing 19 a game. But give you a little context to that. It seems less. Yeah. Give you a little context. Alabama allowed 33 successful plays to Arkansas. When Georgia played Arkansas, they kept their season average of 19. So
say more, Josh. Say more.
So if you broke that down and you took those numbers and you actually added points scored, per each successful play that Georgia runs on offense, it contributes about 1.25 points on the scoreboard. So, and that's right there on par with Alabama and Ohio State. So it's hard to, everyone talks about opponent adjusted and stuff like that. Well, I mean, at this point, we've all got, 11 data points on there, and it's like, yeah, sometimes we play Akron, sometimes we play UAB. But, I feel like we know who the good teams are. Yes. You can look at the scoreboard, you can look at the standings, you can look at advanced analytics.
Tell me what it is. It's very simple.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, exactly right. So, I mean, if you're telling me that Georgia Tech, which is a declining defense that started out okay and has declined ever since, and they're allowing 30 successful plays, and Georgia, even against their better opponents, is averaging 30 successful plays, they're going to get a bunch of good plays, and they're going to be able to do whatever they want. And I suspect that even just if they just do what their average against their average opponents, they're going to score 38 to 45 without any problem. So, that is.
I hope we don't allow more than 45 points, Josh, to Georgia Tech, so that we will be able to win the game. I hope Georgia Tech doesn't get 45 or more.
Yeah,
and you're looking at some of the better offenses we played. Whether Kentucky was playing pretty well when offensively, and Tennessee was the best offense we faced this year, and second best was probably Florida. And, we allowed 24 successful plays to those teams. And again, it didn't come out on the scoreboard. The interesting thing is that I told you that we're allowing, each one of those successful plays on offense is contributing a point and a quarter on the scoreboard. Georgia's defense is ridiculous. That each successful play they allow is only contributing 0.35 points per. Yeah.
Now, what do you attribute that to, Josh? What do you attribute that to? Like, how can you make sense of that?
Well, I can tell you that, if you look at, I looked at a stat the other day, I put it out on Twitter. It was like, we've allowed 90 plays inside our 25-yard line. I think the red zone's technically the 20, but, 20, 25, I just lumped it at the 25-yard line. And so we're allowing 1.8 yards per play on every play inside the 25-yard line. And if you look at, I've got basically the way I get my stats is I go through a great site called CFB Data or collegefootballdata.com. So I have I get every week, I get every single from every game's play by play. And I have each play. So that's how I'm able to get this stuff. And, I think Kentucky and Tennessee's those last two drives that we allowed them to, score on late in the game took forever. It was like, I don't know, 25 or 26, 27 plays just on those two drives alone.
Death march is what we called it. It's the death march.
It's a death march. And it's like, if you're only allowing 90 plays a whole season and almost over a quarter of those were those two games, that's going to drag that yards per play down, obviously, and I don't know how much that you can extrapolate that out against an Alabama team, but it still tells you that, number one, this defense doesn't give up. They don't take their foot off the gas, and they make you earn every single play. They're going to make you earn it. And, like the really good defense is allowing 0.6 and 0.65 point. I mean, literally it's twice as hard, even with your good plays, to score on this Georgia defense.
So the team that we're playing comes out with their best play. They have only a certain number of plays total in the game because they don't let you play forever. Mm-hmm. You're only allowed to do a certain set. And within that certain set, you have 19 successful plays against Georgia. And of those 19 successful plays, what you're saying is that those are doubly as hard to get.
You score a third of a point for each one you successfully pull off against Georgia. Every time you swing for the fences and you hit one, you score a third of a point against Georgia. That's what you love to hear. That inside the 25-yard line, 1.8 yards per play, you don't have to be an analytics guru to understand what that means, right? Like that's 3rd and 5. Every time an opponent's in the red zone, you might as well just call it 3rd and 5 because you've just given up 3 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards maybe on the first 2 plays of the series. And like that's it. It's fourth down and you're trying to kick a field goal or going for it on 4th down and
Now stop me if this sounds crazy, but it's almost like Kirby set out to begin the year with some goals in mind of what he wanted to accomplish. And it seems like scenarios and particular situations are very, very key to him. And it seems like the statistics are backing up that he in fact has reached the goals set out before him on 3rd down, on important plays, on explosive plays, in the red zone, within the 25. All of these are right up Kirby's alley. We're going to come back and ask Josh about Alabama for the SEC championship and why it matters to you and why you should get excited for what he has to tell you. But first, I need to let you know about BetOnline.ag. BetOnline.ag is your sports book experts. They have every sport you can think of. Yes, I'm not kidding you. They have fantasy TV shows on it. I don't know why, because y'all sick and depraved and you can't bet enough. That's why, because you bet all the games on Saturday and you just need more action. And by y'all, I mean,
you say y'all are sick and depraved, say who you mean, Clint. Say who you mean.
Us.
Okay.
I mean, Daniel and myself. We like betting on these games. BetOnline.ag is your sports book expert. And right now you go over there, put promo code LOCKED ON. They're going to give you up to Daniel. Again, I don't understand if we're talking numbers today, but is more money good for you when you bet? Do you like betting money?
Qualitatively, more money is better than less money. That applies.
There it is.
Yeah.
There it is. Head over right now, betonline.ag, your sports book experts, where Daniel and I love to put our money when we do locks, which we're going to have to do this week. Don't worry about that. They're going to give you up to 50% of whatever you put down there. Or, I'm sorry, 100% of whatever you put down. They're going to match it with the promo code LOCKED ON. That's betonline.ag.
Also want to tell you about Built Bar, the tastiest protein bar on planet Earth. You know about them already if you listen to this podcast. They come in a wide variety of flavors. Chocolate flavors, fruit flavors, caramel
You get
flavors.
that new box today, Daniel?
You always get the boxes like 2 days before I do, Clint. So
I got a lemon cheesecake that was in it. It was delicious.
Oh, you love to hear it. Okay. Go to BuiltBar.com right now. Order the lemon cheesecake flavor. Clint can vouch for it. It is fantastic. Right now, enter the promo code LOCKEDON15. You get 15% off your order. That's if you order the lemon cheesecake, if you order the chocolate brownie, if you order the birthday cake, if you order the orange cream, if you order any of the flavors. They're all high in protein. They're all high in fiber. They're all low in sugar. They're all keto approved. They are the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. It is delicious and it's good for you. Go to BuiltBar.com right now. Enter that promo code LOCKEDON15 and get 15% off your order at BuiltBar.com. All right, Josh. So let's talk about the SEC Championship game. And just as a warning to you, people in the comments section do not like it when we are confident about the SEC Championship game. They do not care for it. Georgia fans are nervous. I'm not sure if you're familiar with this phenomenon, but Georgia fans, they do not like to talk about good things. And so you need to temper what you say here because you will upset some people if you're not careful. Tell us what you've seen when looking at Alabama as compared to Georgia this year.
Well, one thing that, I last year, you heard going into the game at Tuscaloosa, the defense that Alabama was out there. I mean, they wanted to fire Pete Golding, and it was all negative, and we did. We had a bunch of successful plays on them. We scored some points. We didn't score enough points, but that defense got better every single game. And by the end of the year, they were, if not the best, certainly one of the best defenses in college football. And they returned a lot of sort of production. If one of the things you look at preseason is that Bill Connolly returning production, and they returned quite a bit, but it hasn't improved like it normally does. So I think that's a sign of improvement that they don't have. Our eyes aren't deceiving us. That team is a very good team. It's clearly one of the best 4 teams right now in the country, but it's just not as good as it's been defensively, or hasn't improved. Like, I was just looking at, sort of the tracking averages here, and they started out with allowing defensive success rate of 37%, and then tracked up to 40%, and that's where it's held on. It hasn't. I would have expected that number to hold at 37 or even go down a little bit, but against Arkansas, they allowed 46% success rate to the Arkansas offense. I mean, I don't know if I've already said it. We shut down that Arkansas offense. I mean, I think we blanked it. Did we not blank it?
I remember.
I think we did.
I do remember that. I was in the building, and it seemed that way to me.
I haven't broken down the Florida game, but Florida's able to move the ball on them, and it's a different Florida team. But not, it's things change. But you only get a small sort of sample set, but unfortunately, I don't think that the Auburn's going to give us a lot of data points because Bo Nix is not playing. It would have been nice.
TJ Finley, not capable of data points, I don't think.
No.
Right, and so that 39-40% success rate allowed is about 22 to 25 successful plays that you can expect the average team to get against Alabama. And Georgia's not an average team offensively. Georgia's offense has absolutely gotten better every week. So I think it's going to be a challenge, but I do think that Georgia will be able to do the things that we've seen them do against other teams. We're not going to have to scheme anything. We're not going to have to reinvent the wheel. We don't have to run the ball at them to have success. Monken has got plays and playmakers, and just figuring out a way to get them the ball, whether it's Bowers or Burton or James Cook out of the backfield or James Cook between the tackles. I just think that this offense is just so much better equipped to take on not only Alabama but any of the elite teams that we hope to face in the playoff. 40% success rate. It's not scary. It's good, just not scary good.
See, and this is what we've been saying for a while. Is this is why Georgia fan needs a dose of statistical reality to say Daniel and I have not been putting down Alabama. They're a good team. We've been on the record.
One of the 4 best teams in college football. Shame they won't make the playoff.
Shame they won't when they fall to 5 or 6 and they're at a New Year's 6 instead of college football playoff. But
That's
whatever.
right. Well, which Dan Mullen will tell you is a victory. You go into a New Year's Six bowl. What could be better than that? It's literally the pinnacle of college football. It's the New Year's Six, Clint.
It really, really is.
If you want to get away from some of this numbers, one of the things that people like to look at are yards. And, Alabama 2018 had a offensive net yards per play is one of the things I talk about a lot. And again, that number is tracked, up for Alabama. It was, 1.7, and now it's just under Georgia's, but it's not that 2.6, 2.7, 2.8 net yards per play. I mean, Georgia is number one in the country in that stat. Just take your offensive yards per play, your defensive yards per play, subtract them, and that gives you, your number there. And Georgia's, of course, Georgia's is really good. They have the same yards per play offensively. They're both Alabama and listen to me, it just rolled off the Iron Bowl. Both Alabama and Georgia are allowing 6.9 yards or getting 6.9 yards per play on offense. I mean, it's like Georgia's this is a different team. I mean, and I know Sarah, you guys get Sarah on here a lot, and if you're following me, you probably follow Sarah, but she wrote a great thing on Dog Sports about it's okay to believe, I believe, is the theme that we are running over at dogsports.com. It's okay to believe.
Let that Grinch-sized heart just start to expand, y'all. Just
let it wash over you. Josh, quickly, you've been talking a lot about, you mentioned Georgia's offense right up there with Alabama, which I don't think your average college football fan or your national college football media member or Gary Danielson specifically is ever going to admit, but there's some data to maybe back that up. But quickly, when you flip it around the other way, I know Georgia fans like Georgia's defense against everybody. But if you listen to Ohio State fans on Twitter or certainly the national media talk about Alabama, the narrative is always, well, Georgia hadn't played nobody on offense, blah, 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 blah. What happens when they play one of these elite offenses? What do you like about the matchup on the other side of the ball in the SEC championship game when a elite offense comes up against this soul-crushing Georgia defense?
Well, Georgia's allowing the second lowest yards per play defensively behind Wisconsin, or may actually be ahead of Wisconsin. They're 30% of their plays they're only allowing 30% of the plays to be successful. And that turns, we talked about that. That's 19 plays a game. Alabama wants to get, 30 successful plays. So it's like, you've got to win that battle. You've got to, keep it, I think Georgia's equipped. Now, I think it's going to come down to, the pressure. I mean, they've got guys that can get behind Georgia, but if they don't have time to get those plays, it's going to be problematic, and that's what it's going to be. It's going to be continuing to do what we do, is put pressure on the quarterbacks, get home, make sure that those plays don't have a chance to develop. And, I think the Clemson game is a good indicator of what we can do against that type of quarterback. And I think we're well equipped. I'll quickly mention my partner, Graham Coffey, who we do a show with, and he breaks down I talk about the stats, he breaks down the plays, and he just talks about how good that the guys behind the Jordan Davis are. They're really good at covering. They're highly rated by Pro Football Focus in terms of keeping those underneath plays to a minimum. They're allowing 1.8 yards per catch. N'Kobe Dean and all these guys are just playing lights out. So it's like we're not giving up the cheap throws. They're keeping those plays in front of them and stuff, and allows pressure to get there.
You said 1.8 yards per catch. Okay.
Butkus Award winner N'Kobe Dean. That's who you're talking about right now. The Butkus Award winner.
No missed tackles, or very few missed tackles. I mean, they're going to wrap you up, and you don't necessarily want your running back out there lined up on a linebacker in coverage, but they've been doing pretty well when they do get those matchups. So it's just, this team's just different. I mean, this defense is ridiculous. It's just one of the there's one of those EPAs and success rates. They're like one of the best in the playoff era. I put a stat out on Sunday that rated, all these teams in the playoff era, and Georgia's 2021 Georgia defense is right there with them all. Actually, Wisconsin is right there too. Wisconsin's having an outstanding year.
Yeah, I can't even. Wisconsin,
except for the part about winning, except for the part about the wins early in the season. Those eluded them. If
For sure.
Wisconsin could have scored points the first half of the season, they could have been a very good team. But they could not do that the first half of the season, and that is problematic.
They look like honestly, metrics wise, they look like some of the Georgia teams, pre 2016. In terms of really good defense, just in an offense that's not hard to beat.
Mike Bobo.
Yeah, Georgia fans are still under the impression that that's the team that we have, but Josh is here to tell you it's not. Clint is here to tell you that it's not. That's not the team that we have. All right, Josh, thank you so much for being on the pod. We got to wrap. But you mentioned Graham earlier. Tell the folks how they can find y'all's show. Make sure they know the Twitter handle, Dawgs, dog_stats. And also make sure they know where they can find all of your written material and whatnot.
Yeah, Graham and I are both writing for dogsports.com as also with your friend Sarah. I think Graham and I do a film and metrics breakdown. We try to do it a couple times a week. It's we're fans too, and we have real jobs that sometimes get in the way of this hobby of ours. But we're on the YouTube. Just look for Dog Sports Live, and we have a lot of fun with it. And it's totally for fun because we actually do break the plays down. So that means we cannot profit from this. We are leaning on the fair rights and fair use allowing of copyright laws. But no, people get into it. It's a lot of fun. And Graham does an amazing job of breaking down the plays and telling you what's going on. It's fun. I've learned a ton from him. So Graham is Dog Out West on Twitter, and he's a good follow as well as Locked On Sports. Locked On Bulldogs or Bulldog. Wait, no, I know it's Bulldog Podcast, right?
At Dogs Podcast is the Twitter handle, but we'll get there, Josh. Don't worry about it. Go subscribe. Go subscribe to the podcast, the YouTube show that Josh and Graham do. It is fantastic. Can verify, and while you're on YouTube, go subscribe to the Locked On Bulldogs podcast and get us up near 1,000. I think we're somewhere in the neighborhood of like
for John.
50 to 70 that we need. Yeah, exactly.
Let's get that thing. John's got. Can't hide money.
Listen, John. Any way that we can get John to pony. When we say we're going in halvesies on us, like let's be honest. You can't hide money. You know where that money's coming from. John Tweet Sports. So go subscribe. And we'll make that happen. Josh, fantastic. Thanks for coming on. We'll have to have you back sometime soon. And we will talk to you later.
See ya.
Thank you, guys.